Welcome to this new series that'll actually make you better at chess if you follow all the steps given throughout this introduction episode. So we're going to be covering Laszlo Polgar Mate in Twos. This is recommended by countless people. Gone through it myself, so this is going to be my third time through on the Mate in Twos, so I'm doing it kind of woodpecker styles. But the thing I love about this book, it's already spaced repetition built in. This helped a lot in my breakthrough, getting past 1800 as an adult chess improver. Honestly, it's got every tactic, every checkmate pattern. I actually learned all of the names before I did this because this book's actually very difficult. If you use the concept of generative learning, which hopefully I put up on the screen here, and also if you're able to do retrieval practice, you'll notice a long-term major effect on your ability to spot tactics and reduce your blunders. Especially with this series, write in the comments if there's a move that you don't understand so I can explain it. There is a lot of these because it's checkmate in 2. So that means that you might find a checkmate in 3, you might find what you think's a checkmate in 2, but they can like throw their queen away with a check or something, so the answer is actually incorrect. It has to be a checkmate in 2. This little bubble down here shows that it's from the white side. It'll always be from the white side perspective for these puzzles for at least 100 videos. If I even get that far, it just depends how much you guys are liking the series. And we're going to start at 451. The reason being is this is the combinations. I hope you solved this one already because you had plenty of time. Now, I'm not going to babysit you and tell you to pause before every puzzle. That is up to you. So I'll just play through them and explain my thought process. The way you find this quickly is that black's threatening checkmate in 1. So you know every move has to be a forcing move. You have to give a check or you get checkmated. Okay? So what checks do we have? That's what makes this exercise really simple. We have 1 check, 3 checks from the queen. Intuitively, I want to go with the knight check first because for me that makes the most sense, because what we're actually doing is you can see that the queen is x-raying this square, and if you put your queen here, it's checkmate. So we're x-ray threatening checkmate in 1, so we need to get rid of the knight, preferably with check, which we can do. What you call a clear and sacrifice. Checkmate in 2 moves, not in 3, so we're all good. So check. King goes up, actually, so I was expecting pawn takes like this, and then queen checkmate. King goes up instead, and the queen comes in. You could call this a queen helper mate. Okay, 452. First thing I notice is that we're not being threatened checkmate in 1, but they do have a check, even though it's like a meaningless check. Usually if you're going to get checked in these sort of puzzles in mate in 2, it's going to be incorrect because you've got to waste a turn blocking the check. We're going to look for the checks, but we're going to try and figure out. I notice there's kind of like a hook mate pattern here. I notice that we are threatening to pin this rook if this knight moves. I notice this knight has check. So I put all this together and realized that the move has to be knight to f6 because this forces a few things. First off, the rook's pinned so it can't take. So it's pretty easy to calculate that the queen must take here. After the queen takes, we've removed the checkmate defender of the queen and the rook. So queen takes, knight and queen team up. I like to think of it as the knight's going fishing, that hook, it's hooking the queen, hookmate. Let's do another one. 453. Now at first I'm trying to make moves like rook here work, noticing that the bishop's pinned, king goes across, but we don't really have a good follow-up because that's not going to be checkmate in 2, right? And of course I'm trying to make something like this work, but obviously the bishop can just take. No fun to be had. And then I noticed this bishop, same kind of pattern. It's x-ray attacking up this way, and I use this term x-ray attacking a lot. I think the x-ray tactic is very underrated and people don't really think about chess this way enough. You should always be looking at what your pieces are doing if the pieces in between are moved. This one I'm thinking, if I move this knight, I'm threatening checkmate here, right? Can they do anything about it? Well, not if I give a check. So I'm looking at where can I move this knight with check? There's 2 squares. There's usually only ever one correct answer. I have found a few mistakes in this book, but a lot of the times the mistakes you think, there actually turns out to be a concrete answer. It's quite clear to me that it's got to be this knight check. The reason why this knight check fails is after the queen takes, you want to play this when the queen takes, right? So pretty simple, it doesn't work. Okay, what about this one? They've got 2 moves, either pawn takes or king here. You need to calculate both, but let's go for pawn takes first. We just have checkmate here. Queen and helper mate, bishop teams up, rook's restricting over here. They can't escape. Okay. You do have to calculate both though, because sometimes they trick you. This one, same deal though. It's just they move over and checkmate. 454. Okay, I definitely solved this one instantly because I've noticed that the rook's pinned. And after doing a few of these mate in 2 puzzles, you'll see this bishop, as well as opening up this H file, combines together. So this one to me is pretty intuitive that we can take with the rook here, because you know that they can't take back with their rook, they've got to take with the king, and then it's a pretty easy follow-up. We've led the king down a little bit so the rook can't block. We follow up with the queen check, and the king can't escape back this way because we notice the pattern that the bishop was there. Just trying to explain how my brain's working. I kind of see this as a back rank checkmate, but on the side, right? Queen's on the side, it's kind of like a back rank. Okay, at first I'm noticing the knight here, so I want to play something really weird and abstract like rook here, because I know that'd be a hook mate, but I can tell it doesn't work because there's so many defenders there. So then I look at my other options. The way I solve this is I see a pattern of a dovetail mate, even though it's not technically correct. If I move my knight here, check, this king has nowhere to go because I'm taking away its only escape square. So it's pretty easy to calculate that the queen has to take, and your queen can come up here. And I see this as a dovetail mate, not quite correct. Usually you need a pawn here and here, and it kind of looks like a dove's tail. That's how they named it. But the way I treat these things and I memorize these things is, to me, it's kind of like a dovetail mate because the rook is acting as if it's a pawn there. The two patterns I see in this is interference, as well as a double bishop checkmate. Even though we've got one bishop on the board, I see it in this way. If you play queen here, for example, it's kind of like a double bishop mate. Your queen's acting as a bishop, but the queen can take. Okay, how do we disrupt this? Well, if you put your rook up to the top like this, they've got two options. One is they take with the queen, and we get a double bishop mate like this. But of course, the second reason why this works is if they take with the bishop, we've completed our interference tactic. So interference meaning we're interfering with a connection between the queen and the rook guarding this back rank. And we can just play the checkmate. It doesn't matter if it's queen g8 or queen f8. Both work. Now this one's beautiful, and pay attention to this one. This changed the way I thought about chess forever, and there is thousands of these types of tactics throughout this book. The tactic we have here is a decoy sacrifice. We sacrifice the bishop to force the king to a square it doesn't want to go to. Usually, you always follow up a decoy sacrifice with some sort of tactic, like a knight fork or something like this, or you're forcing the king into a checkmating net. We force him into a checkmating net, now we have checkmate in 1. The reason why we forced the king here is because we can actually give the check with the knight. Now, what I wanted to explain is not actually decoy sacrifice, is this concept. I really want you to start thinking the way that I think about this. We force the king somewhere, and the knight can give a check while taking away where it came from. This is a very unique way of thinking, and you'll start seeing this happen over and over and again in your games, especially after doing this book. This book is amazing. It changes the way you look at chess forever. And this is how I think of this. Can I force the king somewhere and follow up with a knight at the same time taking away its retreat square where it just came from? Hope that makes sense. I hope I enlightened you. At first glance, I thought we had a hook mate, checkmate in 1, but of course this knight's not defended, and this square, the king can either take the knight or run away. How do we fix this? If we go down, for example, it stopped the king being able to run this way and force them into a mating net. If they go here, for example, rook comes here, and I'm pretty sure this is called a Vukovic mate, probably butchering the name, where the knight and the rook team up and give a checkmate like this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but most likely they're going to go here because they get a knight and they feel really smart. But we can do this, come in, we x-ray defend the pawn, we're defended this way, and they're stuck in another mating net here. Hope you're able to solve most of these. Please do let me know if you want more of this series, because I'm mainly predominantly focused on the mini master series, but I could put some of these in from time to time.